forced against his will to use a kinky BDSM app. That's one way to describe what happened to Lewis Capaldi in late 2022 after he was banned from all major dating apps because people thought that he was a fake. If you don't know Lewis Capaldi, he's currently a 26-year-old singer-songwriter from Glasgow, Scotland, and is the creator of some incredibly famous hits such as Before You Go and Someone You Loved. However, this level of fame came with some perhaps unexpected downsides, one of those being that Capaldi still wanted to use dating apps in order to find love, but people who saw him on there thought that he was maybe a bot or a catfish. Little did they know that Lewis Capaldi's dating accounts were in fact real. But because everyone thought that he was a fake, he was mass reported, and this eventually led to his accounts being terminated. In fairness, the people that reported him might have done so because Capaldi himself came out a few years ago and said that he had been impersonated on dating apps in the past.
Messages with people saying that they've matched me on Tinder. I do have a Tinder, but I just want to let you know that if it's somebody who's, if at any point somebody's message is saying, can I send you a picture of my penis? It's not me. First of all, because I've never asked the person if I can send them a picture of my penis, because I'm not a weirdo. Second of all, I've not got a very impressive penis, so I wouldn't want to be showing it to people. I don't want to show it to people who want to see it at the best of times. And third of all, because the only time I've ever taken a nude picture of what could be perceived as a nude picture of myself is when I was taking a picture of my asshole because I thought I had a hemorrhoid, and even then I couldn't make out what was all going on down there, so cheers.
Whether or not the people who reported him knew about his previous penis impersonator, it can't be said, but this is to say that even Capaldi himself could probably understand why he was banned. Now, you might be thinking that it's somewhat of a mystery that Capaldi would want to use Tinder, Bumble and Hinge, despite the fact that he's an ultra-famous multi-millionaire Brit Award winner, but if that's his personal choice, then fair enough. He's made it clear in the past that he really doesn't have the desire to date another famous person, or at least not exclusively date famous people, and so for Capaldi, dating apps made sense. Nonetheless, as we've already established, he was eventually banned and had to turn to an app called Field, which is described as a dating service for people interested in polyamory, kinks, swinging, and other alternative dating models or sexual preferences.
And then I'll go, I got on this one. Someone the other day told me I got on this thing called Field. And I was like, oh, cool, there's another fucking dating app, whatever. And I go on it, and it's like so sexual. It's unbelievable. Like, it's all about like kinks and fucking BDSM.
Capaldi has come out to say that he's really not into the more unconventional things that Field has to offer, saying that it's really beyond anything that he's into, but if dating celebrities are off the cards, and as are more standard dating apps, there really aren't too many other places to go. Online dating is the most popular way that couples meet these days. It's been heavily destigmatized over the past decade or two, and so for a single guy in his mid-20s to be banned from all the major ones because of his popularity, it's an unfortunate pill to swallow. Adults of all ages deserve to have a go at love and truly feel confident in themselves, and a great way that you can feel confident in yourself is by having an amazingly healthy head of hair. That's where MDhair comes in, the sponsor of today's video. If you don't know, MDhair is a clinically proven customized hair growth treatment developed by dermatologists to treat your specific hair needs. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have a full set of healthy hair. I've never noticed any thinning or receding, which I am incredibly thankful for, but even for me, it's never too early to protect what you've got. The way it works is incredibly easy. All you need to do is take an online test, and then based upon your answers, pair with an AI analysis of your scalp, MDhair will send you a box of products customized to your specific needs. My products were to help thicken my hair, and I got to work integrating them into my daily routine. Each box comes with a customized shampoo and conditioner, regrowth serum, collagen, and a wellness supplement, each designed to strengthen or restore your hair. And after a bit of use, I did notice that my hair felt a bit thicker. So if you've been noticing a bit of thinning recently, or you're like me and you just want to keep your hair as healthy as possible for as long as possible, MDhair are doing 70% off your first month if you use my code FOX70 after hitting my link in the description below. Just click the link in the description below and use my code FOX70 for 70% off your first month. I want to give a big thank you to MDhair for being the sponsor of today's video. With that said, let's move on to another story involving people who were banned from Tinder. It's time to talk about a TikToker who wanted to capitalize on her popularity on Tinder by any means necessary. This story dates back to early 2021, after the Daily Star reported that a woman known on TikTok as Thotiana had picked up a side hustle, one that involved her literally just existing. Perhaps tired of the dating scene, or perhaps purely motivated by money, Tiana thought it would be a good idea to start charging gullible men to add her on Snapchat. Unfortunately, and potentially unsurprisingly, you can see that a large number of men took her up on this deal, paying just to be in her DMs. One user paid as much as $20 to have the pleasure of doing this, though most men only paid a single dollar. In a video that's since been deleted, Thotiana can be seen sticking her tongue out and showing off the receipts of her service, also providing evidence that her account has since been banned. As we'll get more into as the video progresses, one important thing you need to know is that Tinder has a policy in which goods and services cannot be sold. It states, "Don't advertise, promote, share your social handles to gain followers, sell stuff, fundraise, or campaign." This also means that Tinder is not a place for any sort of sex work, escort services, or compensated relationships. So no, don't use Tinder to find your sugar mama. Obviously, by wielding Tinder in this way, she was in clear violation of this, and so her banning was only a matter of time. Now, you might be wondering, who would be desperate enough to pay money to merely be in the inbox of a woman? But to be honest, it shouldn't come as that big of a surprise. You could make the argument that this sort of thing, this type of intense simping, is a result of the male loneliness epidemic. If you've never heard of this, the male loneliness epidemic is said to be an ongoing problem in society in which young men especially are more isolated than ever. According to the American Survey Center, the amount of men who said they have no friends increased by a factor of 5 in the 31 years between 1990 and 2021. Humans are social creatures, and so it would make sense for men to likely turn to romantic relationships to try and patch over these wounds, but with the number of people reporting being single also on the rise, it's fair to assume that this would lead to desperation, which could be capitalized on if you're someone like Mrs. Thotiana. I'm going to cover the male loneliness epidemic in a future video, but just for now know that the impact of it, if you believe in it, would surely be seen on these dating apps. It would be rife, because these dating apps are a byproduct of the modern dating scene. If you somehow don't know, the vast majority of Tinder's users are men. They make up roughly 80% of the app's user base. Competition for men is simply higher on these apps, and so unless they are very attractive, likes and matches can be incredibly rare. I covered this phenomenon in my video about Tinder's upcoming AI problem, but at least according to the sources that I found, many men with poor profiles, or men who are perhaps a little bit less conventionally attractive and find themselves in the bottom 10%, might only receive 1 like a week. And this isn't even to mention that the one person who does swipe right simply might not be a compatible match. Again, desperation and loneliness, it was the perfect storm for something like this to happen, and it's hard to argue against this being a very warranted ban, even if these men should have known better. But from selling social media links to selling social policies, the banning of Robyn Gedrich, a 23-year-old from New Jersey, made headlines back in 2016 just because of how unconventional it was. Believe it or not, she was banned for being a Bernie Sanders supporter. Of course, that's only half the story. It would be discriminatory to ban someone for merely expressing their political opinions. Instead, what Robyn Gedrich did was in fact in violation of Tinder's policies because she used the app to campaign for Bernie Sanders during the 2016 Democratic primaries. Believe it or not, Gedrich is said to have sent over 60 messages a day for a fortnight as a method to try and drum up some support for the well-known senator from Vermont during his 2016 election campaign. If you do the maths, 60 times 14 is 840, so she sent the best part of 1,000 messages to various people to try and get Sanders to win the Democratic primary. Another woman, this one a 22-year-old named Haley Lent from Iowa, decided to take things even further and bought Tinder Premium so that she could change her location from Iowa to New Hampshire. Now, for any non-Americans watching this, or for any Americans that don't really care about politics, you might be wondering why that is. But a simple explanation is that before a major political party in the USA runs a candidate for president, they have to be elected in a primary. So a bunch of politicians from that party get on stage together, they answer some questions, and then the members of the party vote who they want to see get on the presidential ticket. Back in 2016, the two frontrunners from the Democratic Party were Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, who I'm sure you know eventually got the go-ahead, but the race was a lot closer than expected. Now, for primaries, states vote at different times to each other. It's not like a presidential election where voting is cast closer together, and Iowa and New Hampshire go first. So if someone performs really well there, if they perform better than expected, they might just have the legs to go the distance and win the nomination, so those two are extremely important. Back in 2016, Hillary Clinton won the Iowa caucus by an incredibly slim margin, and so by New Hampshire, it was all still to play for, and Bernie Sanders would actually win decisively there. These women who campaigned for him over Tinder, while obviously not being the only reason that he won, might have played a very small part. It was reported that they were both parts of a Facebook group called Bernie Sanders Dank Tinder Convos, which had a total of 782 members, and within this group, the members would share the conversations they had with people they matched with, sliding into DMs with such opening lines as, "How about I choke you with every prescription drug you ever need? With free healthcare, we can do just that." And, "Do you have time to talk about our Lord and Saviour, Bernie Sanders?" Of course, in response to this, many people would unmatch with the women or report them for being bots. Many people were curious as to who they were working for, thinking that they had been hired as part of the Bernie Sanders campaign team. These women were just campaigning out of their own free will. They weren't being paid by anyone, they were just doing it because they wanted to. Nonetheless, whether it was because they were reported as bots too much, or because they were reported as trying to use Tinder as a campaigning strategy, they were, of course, eventually banned from using the service. But from a ban in the east coast of the states to one in the west, from New Hampshire to California, our next story is a first of its kind for the series. After more than a calendar year and about 11 or 12 episodes containing about 100 stories, we finally have a person who has been put in the book of the band not just once, but twice. A huge congratulations to HidingInMyRoom, who in late 2018 was banned from Tinder. Why? Let's find out. This is Daniel from HidingInMyRoom. He's a YouTuber with about 111,000 subscribers who's got a very interesting style of content. He gives life updates about things that have happened to him or opinions that he holds, creating classic videos such as Why I Hate My Gay Voice, My Life Struggle as a Sociopath, and Why I Broke Up with My Love Doll. If you remember back to my video on banned Airbnb users, you'll also remember that he once uploaded a video titled I Got Banned on Airbnb, in which he discusses the build up to how he got his Airbnb account terminated. As it turns out, he thinks it's because he was shooting OnlyFans content in there without having told the owner of the property, and then one of his fans snitched. In regards to his Tinder account though, he didn't exactly have an answer. The year prior, he had bought Tinder Gold, but he hadn't kept track of it and forgot to cancel. He must have bought annually though, because he was then charged for an entire year's subscription to Tinder Gold, despite the fact that he claimed to be married. He said that he decided to just mess around with the app, using the passport feature to go to other countries and conduct experiments. He set his location to California because a large part of his demographic comes from there, but he says that he was a little bit underwhelmed by the local women. He claims that he matched with one Asian American girl that lived there, but this girl said that she didn't date Asian guys, which upset Daniel. He then decided to berate her with angry messages.
And I also got into this argument with this Asian girl that I matched in California. She said something like, I don't date Asian guys, which was strange because if you don't date Asian guys, then why did you swipe right on me? I felt really offended Why wouldn't you want to date Asian guys? What's wrong with Asian guys? There's loads of Asian guys who are great guys. And you're just going to write them all off? Just like that? Anyway, as you may imagine, I was pretty offended that this Asian American girl just said I don't date Asian guys. And I might have told her to F off, and I might have called her... And I might have told her to KYS herself, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I'm not proud of my actions, but it just feels really bad when someone says, sorry, I don't date guys who are your race or your ethnic group.
Obviously, Tinder has a policy against hate and harassment on the service. I assume it's the main reason why people get banned, so it's definitely possible that this was the case. However, it could have also been for something that he did afterwards. After he was done with Californian girls, he decided to turn his attention towards Japan and ran a little experiment. He wanted to find out which ethnicity would perform best with Japanese girls, and so he kept changing his profile picture between that of himself, this picture of a white guy, and this picture of a black guy. As it turns out, and weebs, you'll be happy to hear this, he claims that the white guy was by far the most successful with getting matches from Japanese girls, with the black guy also getting a few matches too.
I kept changing my photo to this white guy and then this black guy. And I kept switching between the black guy and the white guy and then back to my real photos to try and see which photo would get the most matches. I also tried this out in Japan and the white guy got so many matches. Overnight he'd get about 10 to 15 matches. I'd wake up the next morning. There'd be all these matches and all these messages from these cute girls who would message me first instead of waiting for me to message them first, which was kind of nice. I wasn't used to that. Using my own photos, I would never get so many matches, and cute girls would never just message me first. And apparently that was all that was required to get loads of matches. So if you're that guy or you look like that guy, you need to come to Japan because you'll be drowning in the juice. The black guy also got a lot of matches as well, more matches than I was getting. So if you're a black guy and you're wondering if you can get a Japanese girlfriend, the answer is probably. You'll have a better chance than I did.
Now, despite this being an experiment, it's also against Tinder's rules to impersonate another person, and so this too could be a reason that he was banned. Truly, it's impossible to know. But there's one thing I do know, that being that I'm incredibly close to overtaking Daniel from Hiding in My Rooms in subs, so please, if you're enjoying this, subscribe, I would truly appreciate it, help me overtake this guy. Otherwise, maybe I'll hide in your room, maybe in your walls, maybe I'm in there right now. Take it as a threat, I mean it. And if we're talking about threatening behaviour, we need to discuss Nick Vedovi, whose actions and demeanour towards his matches resulted in him receiving one of the most infamous permanent terminations ever witnessed by the app. This is Nick Vedovi. He's probably the most boring looking white guy in existence. He looks like the human representation of normal SpongeBob. It's hard to imagine that someone so plain looking could have such an offensive personality, but looks can be deceiving. And in 2017, Mr. Vedovi was exposed to the entire web as an aggressive, entitled, misogynistic racist. This all started when a man named Kevin Tran posted a message to Facebook. I met this guy in college, and he seemed like a decent guy. He was nice, friendly, etc. Over the weekend, he matched a friend of mine on Tinder, and they exchanged messages. When she didn't respond immediately, he lost it and left a bunch of nasty messages. I called him out on it, he denied, and he proceeded to block me on all social media. Tran would release the screenshots of this conversation that Nick is said to have had with his friend, which would shock and appall everyone who read it. You can see that he wasn't doing too badly and actually had a date lined up with the friend. They were going to go and watch a scary movie together. But then the real horror show started after Kevin Tran's friend was slow to reply. Nick began to brag about his height and build, which is never a good look for a guy as it screams insecurity. As does turning hostile when you don't receive a reply, as Nick would later message using the Asian sea slur to this woman, saying that these people are all the same, and also criticising this woman's looks, saying that she should wear less makeup. All the markings of an insecure bellend. Now, of course, you have to question whether or not this was actually Nick. He claims that it was someone else who found his pictures online and was impersonating him, but I find this very hard to believe because when you look at the messages that Nick sent Kevin, these two reek of insecure, aggressive douchebag. An innocent response would be to question this and perhaps say that you'd contact Tinder to try and get the account banned. His response was to brag about posting shirtless pictures and to get all defensive. Listen, bud, I'm not sure what you're after here, but I barely know you, so I don't have the time to debate with you on random shit that you're bringing up for reasons I really don't know why. I post a lot of pics and shirtless shit, so it really doesn't surprise me that someone would use it. 100%, this is the same guy. I would bet my life on it, unless somehow both Nick Vedovis are cocky, entitled munters. In response to this, another woman came out to further expose Nick, sharing her story. This confirmed for a fact that it was Nick because the two went on a date together, but she didn't want to go on a second. As you can expect, this little man-child didn't take it very well and sent her a number of hateful messages saying that she led him on and calling her a bimbo. If you look into the facts of Tinder, it's an unfortunate truth that women are frequently harassed and attacked. 1 in 3 women who have used dating apps say that they were called a rude name on there, and 1 in 10 have been physically threatened. It's the Nicks of the world who contribute to that awful statistic, and so, having been publicly shamed by the web, of course Tinder jumped on the action too. They obviously banned him for his immature and racist response to rejection, but also came out on Twitter to celebrate National Pig Day, dropping his name in the post, obviously referring to him as a pig. But while Nick's banning is hard to argue against, the same might not be said about various members of the trans community who claim to be banned based purely off their identity. It's no secret that trans people have a lot of trouble when it comes to dating, a point that I made very recently within my video on banned subreddits. I covered in that video that the problem that a lot of trans people find is that cisgender people are for the most part very unwilling to date them. And since the vast majority of people would classify themselves as cisgender purely based on numbers alone, it's an uphill battle. The study I spoke about in the video found that less than 2% of straight cis women and 4% of straight cis men claim that they would date a trans person, alongside 11.5% of cis gay men and 29% of cisgender lesbians. In the USA, more than 97% of people would say that they're cisgender, and even this is fairly low when you compare it to other countries. Just like anyone else, for trans people, it makes sense that in the modern age, an easy way to try and meet people is online via dating apps such as Tinder. But many members of the trans community have come out to say that they've been disproportionately banned more than others because they're trans. The first major news outlet that I could find to report on the story was Business Insider, which covered it back in June 2015. It reported that Tinder has a guilty until proven innocent way of handling their bans. It doesn't really moderate why people have reported it, it just bans them after a select number of people have flagged the account. In response, Tinder claimed that everyone is welcome on the platform, stating, "Each banned account is individually assessed. If we find this user has been wrongfully banned, then we unban their account. This includes instances where transgender users are reported by others, but haven't violated any of our community standards." Still, many trans users felt that this wasn't the case, and for years after that, even up until today, the story stays the same. In 2017, Vice reported that the trans community was still being banned from Tinder, though this time the service reached out to prominent members, with the co-founder even reaching out to one trans woman to try and find out more about her experience. By this point, it had introduced more gender options, but it still seemed to do very little. These gender options were expanded on further by 2019, allowing for 50 genders and 9 sexualities, but these were papers over the cracks, as trans people still came out every day on Twitter to air their grievances about being banned from the app. Reading statements put out by members of the trans community, it seems to be that most of these bannings frequently occur to people who are interested in men, but I'm sure a few of them are interested in women too. For anyone who doesn't use Tinder, the way that the search works is that you can filter out by age and by distance and also by gender. So you set up your own profile and you can choose any of the 50 or so genders that they've added over the past couple of years, but it does not allow you to specifically search for a gender. So you can only choose out of women, men, or both. And what this means is that you can't filter out by trans or cis. Perhaps this is less discriminatory, I really couldn't say because I don't know and I don't really want to hazard a guess, but what it does mean is that people who would refuse to date trans people, or people who would report their profiles if they see them, are just lumped in with everyone else. Therefore, these sorts of bannings are just commonplace now, and in the current state of Tinder, it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. But if you want to change over to another one of my videos, I'd recommend my most recent upload. It's a video covering the sickening reality of YouTube's mukbangs, and if I'm being completely honest, it kind of underperformed, which really sucks because I poured my heart and soul into it, and I think it's a great video. So if you didn't see it, I put my stamp of approval on it, so go check it out. If you enjoyed this one though, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Aside from that, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.